The idea here is that the males go to strong levels, the females use machine gun fire to infantry trenches to cut them down. These German soldiers, they've seen tanks before, but they're also aware that they are dealing with infantry tanks. Coming up to infantry, the infantry second, 8 guys in 1960 locked in the part that was earlier in the war. These guys had grenades, much less able to take that must be a terrifying sight. There is all they can do against those tanks. All arms are tanks. They have no artillery to keep up the challenge. There's the old trench mortar dropping in, but the tanks are all close up to German position now.
Chcesz nagrać moim?
Those are very
and they basically learned the art on the job of making something like a tank. And again, we say this every time, there's no civilian equivalent of this in the tank. Yes, the markets are tank vehicles, but we don't put a weapon system on the plane that cranks all on a vehicle in civilian life. So these are a very weird set of skills you need to make something. And actually, Bowman did a really good job with the Matilda 2. Line, they'd be able to pound those, whereas a normal tank gun might not be strong enough. So there's exceptions to the rule, but his overall aim, keep it simple, make a good effective tank, and the Sherman certainly was. It's got to be easily repaired, maintainable. We've got a citizen army that they're not skilled specialists, they need to be able to keep these tanks
to tank killers. So the American vehicles, you're looking at them and you're thinking, yeah, these are very much about reconnaissance and going forward into attack. German vehicles, just look at the style of them. They are low slung. They are designed for defensive use and they're designed to really strike from cover. Would you say that's about right, David?
And one thing we sometimes forget, even in wartime, money's important. That German Sturmgeschütz costs about a third or 2/3 the price of the turreted Panzer III. You're going to see the Panzer III later on today. So the Germans aren't stupid. They realise, hang on, we're making an effective tank destroyer, Panzerjäger like Chris said, with actually less money. And as early as 1943, the Germans realised ST, fighting vehicle, we give them abbreviations, 4005, and the idea behind it, they're trying to think, if we need a big gun, and this is enormous, it's 183 millimetres across the end of the barrel there, if it fires around, maybe we can round by doing a different type of ammunition. And in Britain in the Second World War, we designed a new type of anti-tank round that we call high explosive. There's an enormous amount of force behind it. It hits the enemy tank, it pancakes on the enemy's armour. In other words, it squashes a microsecond after that's happened. A fuse at the back of the round detonates and it sends a shockwave through the armour of the enemy tank. And it causes something called spalling. Great bits of metal fly off inside. The American arena full of head for us, but coming down
leopards in the display today.
A tak chodzi, to
One
jest
is
nieużywane.
SC, which is actually Australian.
For the British forces, it is important not just to compare it to the Soviets, but basically, and I assume it's just force of habit at this point, Op 4, as the army call it, actively enemy forces during an exercise. When big divisional exercises were happening for the British, the enemy was mainly the Germans. Sometimes the Americans as well, but actually German Leopards were one of the sort of peacetime adversaries of the British chieftains. When it was a Leo Ross versus the really quite potent one, so it is worth pointing out as well, while the T-72 on paper, quite similar to Chieftain, 120 versus 125 mil gun, not incomparable.
An interesting point to note, you may see a relatively unusual camouflage pattern of the commander there. That's exactly the second in command at ATU. He's our Canadian exchange officer. We've had a Canadian at ATU for years, and Major Mitchell is the regular.